Factorizing is a technique used in mathematics to simplify terms, expressions, and numbers so that it can be used to either solve for unknowns or just to make simplification easier. So, say you add this number 33 and you want to simplify it so you can use its factors to do some form of simplification. Factors of 33 include 1 and 33 and 3 and 11. So say you want to use 11 in some expression, you would use this to replace this so you can do your simplification. And that's basically factoring. But factoring doesn't stop here. We factor terms with unknowns and we go up to polynomial expressions, not only terms that are linear but also polynomials. So say you add something like this, ax plus b, and you were told to factor this completely. What you would do, you'd look amongst both terms and find the highest common factor and you would take that out. So you'd have the highest common factor on the outside, which is the c there, and you would multiply it by this ax divided by the c, because you would factor the c from the a and the b. So, and the b would be b over c. And that's how you factor. So say you add this example, 3x plus 36, and you're told to factor this completely. What you want to do, as I said before, is look amongst these two to find the highest common factor. So let's write down the factor of 3x. The factors of 3x include 3x times 1. The next factor would be 3 times x. And these are the factors of the first term. Now for the next term, which is 36. Factors of 36 would be 1 times 36 itself, 12 times 3, 9 times 4 would be a factor, 6 times 6 would be a factor, and we have other factors as well, like 2 times 18, but because of we can see our highest common factor. 3 is common in both, as we can see here. Let me do this in next color. So 3 is common in both. So that would be our highest common factor. So we take that 3 out. Let me do it right here. So we take that 3 out and we'd multiply by 3x over 3 plus 36 over 3. And this would result in 3 times x plus 12. And this is how we factorize. Now, this is a linear expression. We can factorize polynomials, as I said before. So let's look at an example with a power higher than 1. Say you're given this question, x squared minus 6x equals 0. And we are supposed to find the value of x. What we want to do in a case like this is factor out what is common in them. By looking at both expressions, we can see that x is common in both. So we are going to factor out the x. So when we factor out the x, we will have the x on the outside with an open bracket, x squared over x minus 6x over x. And when we do our division here, we'd end up with x times x minus 6. And remember that it's equal to 0. We're multiplying the x here times this, and it's equal to 0. So that simply means that either all of this is equal to 0 or x is equal to 0. So we're going to write x equals 0 because that's a possibility. if we're multiplying a times b and it's equal to 0, that simply means either a is 0 or b is 0. So let's equate this to 0, and we're going to equate this to 0. So when we equate x to 0, we have x equals 0. And when we equate x minus 6 to 0 and transpose for x, we are left with x equals 6. And that's how you use factorization to solve for unknowns in equations. 2x squared minus 32, that's equal to 0. The first thing we want to do again is to look in both terms for what's common. 32 is divisible by 2, so 2 is common in both, and that's the only thing that's common now because there's no x here. So we're going to factor out a 2. So we'd have 2 here, which is our factor, times 2x squared over 2 minus 32 over 2, and we equate that to 0. When we simplify what's inside the bracket by dividing by 2, we have 2 times x squared minus 16, and that's equal to 0. Now inside the bracket we have the difference of two squares, and that is because 4 times 4 is 16, and again these are factors, so I just factorize the 16 there. So we're going to write this as this. This portion here is the same as this portion here. So if we expand this here, we will get back this. Again, we are multiplying terms and it's equal to 0. And 2 can't be 0, so either this is 0 or this is 0. So let's equate those to 0. So when we transpose this, we have x equals negative 4, and here we have x equals 4. So I'm going to leave it here for this video. In the next video, we will be looking at the quadratic formula and using the AC method to factorize. Thank you guys for watching, and please subscribe if you are not a subscriber.